What do you do if you're leveraging SEO to grow your podcast listenership, but growth is still slow or non existent? I came across a business owner asking this question on Threads. She was doing keyword research for each episode, but her podcast growth was slow. So she wanted to know what else she could do to grow her podcast audience. And I see this happen often for podcasting business owners. They're doing keyword research and incorporating keywords into their episodes, but their growth is stagnant. If that's you or it's something you worry about happening when you do start your podcast, this episode is for you. I'm breaking down how to get more podcast listeners when your podcast SEO strategy isn't working. Now, if you're new here, welcome to Evergreen Marketing Era for Women Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Andrea Singletary, podcast strategist for women in business who want to grow their email list and sign their dreamiest clients through podcasting. So, if you've been optimizing your podcast episodes for search and your growth is stagnant or you aren't seeing consistent growth each month, don't give up on your podcast SEO strategy. One of two things is most likely happening. You're not using the right keywords or you're not incorporating your keywords in the right places. So let's first talk about not using the right keywords. Often business owners focus on trying to rank for keywords with high search volume. While you do want to incorporate keywords that have decent search volume, just because a keyword phrase has a high search volume doesn't mean those are the keywords your ideal clients are searching for when they are looking up your type of content. So like when they're trying to find your type of content and your expertise, they may not be using those search terms. You want to do a mix of keywords that have a search volume in the hundreds or higher, as well as those with lower or even zero search volume. But search volume isn't the deciding factor. This is just one piece of the puzzle. What you should be focused on is using the keywords your people are actually searching. So this means focusing on search intent. Now, you've probably heard search intent if you've done any type of SEO training, done anything with SEO. But search intent is the reason behind why someone types a certain word, phrase, or question in Google or the podcast listening apps. So their search has a specific purpose. They're either trying to learn something, find something, buy something, or visit a specific website or page. Your people aren't using industry language. They most likely don't even know the right terminology for whatever their problem is if that is not their area of expertise. So for instance, with this episode, I didn't prioritize podcast SEO strategy as my main keyword, even though it is in the episode title. The main keyword for this episode is how to get more podcast listeners because that's what my people are searching. That is their main problem. While they may be familiar with the words podcast SEO, they're most likely not searching that. They are searching something related to their problem, which is that their podcast audience isn't growing or that they want to gain more podcast listeners. Now, I did include the words podcast SEO strategy to attract those who are trying to grow their listenership with SEO, but aren't seeing the results they want to see. But because my primary keyword phrase is how to get more podcast listeners, this allows me to cast a wider net to capture both those who are and aren't familiar with podcast SEO. And so this is what you have to think about strategically when you are doing keyword research. You have to think about the people you're trying to reach and what language they're using. What are they focused on? What are they trying to solve as far as like their problem and everything? And this is exactly what I support my Evergreen Marketing Accelerator clients with. One of my clients was navigating this same issue. She had been podcasting for a year, doing keyword research for each episode, incorporating her keywords in all the right places, but her growth was non-existent. Like she did not see really any growth from month to month. So when she joined the accelerator, I audited her podcast and quickly identified that she was using keywords rooted in industry language, not the language her ideal clients were using. And even though she was ranking for certain keywords, they weren't the words that the people she wanted to reach were searching. She did some market research, and so then we were able to identify the words, the language, and phrases her ideal clients were using as related to their problems and her expertise. And so she started creating episodes around those topics relevant to her target audience and incorporating keyword phrases rooted in search intent. And within 23 days of making these changes, her podcast started ranking on the Apple Podcast charts for entrepreneurship. Now, let me say this. I don't talk a lot about ranking on the charts because it's not necessarily an indicator of podcast success as a business owner. However, when you are podcasting for your business and you do rank on the charts, it does tell you something about what's working really well with your podcast. And so ranking on the Apple Podcast charts means that people are, one, discovering your podcast, two, you're gaining new followers, and three, your episode consumption rates have increased. So meaning that people are listening to your episodes for a longer length. So maybe your episode consumption rates have primarily been in like the 30 to 50%. Well, now people are listening, 60% and up. So when that happens, then you'll start ranking on the Apple Podcast charts. That's kind of how the Apple Podcast charts algorithm works. So instead of getting so focused on, let me try to rank on, the charts, look at what you can do to, gain new listeners. So attract new listeners and, have people listen to your full episodes versus them checking out 20, 30, 40% in. But these are all indicators of podcast growth and content that is resonating with your listeners. That's the power of using the right keywords. Because when you use the right keywords, you capture new people's attention. And even the people who are following your podcast, you capture their attention and you help retain them as a listener because you're speaking their language. You are speaking on the things that are most relevant to them. And you're talking about it in a way that they connect with the most, that they understand, where it's like, oh my gosh, she is in my head. She's saying the things that I've been thinking and feeling and different things like that. And so you want to make sure that the keywords you're using, more than looking at just the search volume, are keywords that your people are actually searching for, that they're actually using when they type in Google and the podcast listening apps. Now, the other piece to this is making sure you're incorporating your keywords in the right places. It's not enough to put it in your episode title and call it a day. The keyword phrase for your episode should be incorporated throughout the show notes and even said in your episode. This is going to alert Google and the podcast listening apps that your content should be pushed out when someone is searching for content related to that keyword phrase. So you have to look at both of these things. You have to use keywords rooted in search intent, but you also have to make sure you're incorporating those keywords in all the right places. Now, SEO isn't the only way to grow your podcast audience, but it should be one you prioritize. This is how you grow your podcast organically without having to create more content to market your podcast episodes. This is also how you ensure new listeners who are actively searching for your expertise find you. Now, in a couple of weeks, I am going to be dropping an episode sharing how I market my podcast outside of SEO. But one of the easiest ways to market your podcast is SEO. You already have to plan your episodes, write episode titles, and create show notes. So you may as well do keyword research for each episode and incorporate them. It is just one added step. So if you want to learn how to do podcast SEO the right way, join me inside the Evergreen Marketing Accelerator. This is one area we focus on heavily because it is truly the best way to attract your highest quality leads. You'll learn my exact strategy for searching for and choosing the right keywords for your podcast episodes, and you'll be able to have me give direct feedback on the keywords you're choosing, as well as my support with doing keyword research. I help you with all of that. My accelerator clients, they tell me what their episode topic is, and I will do keyword research for them. But I also record a video walking them through my process, how I decided to, look up this phrase, how I decided that this was the best keyword for this episode, all of that. So that way and you can confidently do this on your own. I want you to head on over to mamaturnpreneur.com/accelerator to apply now and secure your spot for October. This is linked below in the episode description and in the show notes. All right, I'll catch you in the next episode.